Welcome to Plot Twist, the show where we unpack the unexpected turns that shape our careers, relationships, and ourselves. I'm your host, Tiana, leader, speaker, and corporate mom. And I'm sitting down with guests that prove that growth begins often at the twist of a story. Let's dive in. Today's conversation goes beyond career paths and titles. It's about purpose. I am joined by a visionary who is building a technology-driven infrastructure designed to support social programs across Africa. His work focuses on creating structured information sharing between banks, markets, and government agencies, all with one critical goal in mind, ensuring that funding reaches the people that it was actually intended for. This isn't just a conversation, it's a timestamp, capturing the early vision of a system that could fundamentally change how social reform is delivered across Africa. Olu, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, Tiana.
Now, Olu, break it down, the correct pronunciation of your name, because my American accent will butcher it.
Thank you very much, Tiana. So the full breakdown of my name is Olufemi Adeyemo. So that's the full pronunciation of my name. But I go by Olu for easy pronunciation for people.
Now, Olu, just some quick questions to let the audience know. You and I, we have some professional history working together in your career background. You have been heavy in bookkeeping and Salesforce administration, but tell listeners something about you that most people don't expect.
Yes, so I've been in the tech space for more than 8 years, and my previous experience provide me the opportunity to see how the government can help to alleviate poverty. And that's the most important thing that is paramount to my heart and very dear to my heart. If America, for example, has a social safety net that is working for the most vulnerable people, I don't think any other country can say they can't do that. So that's the thing that propelled me to do now.
So the title of this show is called Plot Twist. And I like to ask this question in the beginning. If your journey up to this point was a chapter in a book, what would the title of that chapter be?
It's going to be change, because me being having an accounting background, now going into the tech space, kind of give me the opportunity to tell you that change is something that is inevitable in human lives. The way we progress, we change, we have to embrace that change. So I would say change, absolutely.
Change can be very good and be very impactful too. So for a short period of time in your career journey, I was actually your manager, and a new opportunity popped up with the company that was really in alignment with your goals. And I would say you were a little hesitant to make that move because of loyalty, like, hey, how's Tiana going to feel if I go over here? But how did making that move, which is, I'm glad that you did, because at the end of the day, you got to move for yourself. How did that move influence your growth and your leadership identity going forward?
Yes, thank you very much. So I know I was under your leadership because I was hired to be a senior business analyst for O.L.U at that period of time. And one of the things that we do is that as a business analyst, you have to collect requirements from stakeholders and talk to them, ask difficult questions and uncomfortable questions. So during that period of time, I know you guided me a lot to have that confidence and talk to people, because sometimes, the barrier that we face as an immigrant kind of like can a little bit impact the way we label people. So you instill that confidence in me to just say, this is what it is, giving me that tutoring and all the support that I needed to be able to perform my task in a good fashion. So that really, really helped me, and I bonded with you so much because one thing about you is that you're very infectious, and I really have that camaraderie with you because you're not acting as my boss. You were giving us the confidence to grow and feel free to be vulnerable. That's what I've learned. Now, being vulnerable is not a weakness, but rather you can flourish. Even with your vulnerability, you can still flourish. So I took that along with me. So it's why I wanted to move. I wanted to have that conversation with you to let you know that I feel bad, but at the same time, I want to move on to another department, which I think is going to help my career path. And when I told you about it, I talked to you about it, you're like, yeah, go for it, Olu. You have to go. You have to grow as a person. You have to grow. And that's the most important thing that really, really helped me. And I'm glad we had a common cause, because managers can be a micromanager, other kind of stuff, and they can be like a pain. So, but for you, you're just like, I'm going to manage people the best way I can. And you give us the confidence, the lead to excel in everything that we do. So I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment. I do feel that a manager's role is to also be a leader. And as a leader, you support your team. And it's a little suspicious if no one on your team is growing, whether it's they're growing in whatever it is that they're doing in that particular role and they're becoming the best analyst or best engineer or whatever their title is. You don't want to pigeonhole people. So if they have goals and desires to go beyond, that looks good for you as a leader that you could help people grow into what they wanted to see. So I'm glad that you took on the other role. You did phenomenal in that other role. And from the things that you described as far as the soft skills that you acquired from that journey, it's really led you to this bigger purpose. So let's talk about that issue that's going on. What is it that is happening right now with public leadership and integrity gaps in Africa?
So one of the issues in Africa is that our leaders are reactive than responsive. Reactive in the sense that issues happen before they take action, whereas one of the fundamental attributes of a leader is to be proactive. They see things before it happens. So one of the things that we have in Africa is that our leaders are more like about themselves. They're not about the common good for the people. And what I mean by common good is that when I look at America, for example, the way America is structured, there is always an opportunity for people. Be it when things go wrong, you always have a safety net for people to fall back on. Whereas in Africa, nothing like that exists. If it exists, it only exists on paper. So those things are the things that propelled me to say, okay, there should be a solution. So the solution that we are providing is to ensure that how can we use data to mitigate or reduce the poverty gap between the common man and the government.
And a lot of those officials are elected. They're elected by the people, representing for the people. So when that doesn't happen, what are the consequences when leaders don't prioritize the people that they serve? How does that impact?
It's a lot, because when you look at leadership is give and take, right? But in Africa, it's not all bed of roses. So, government consists of the legislator, the executive, and the judiciary, and also the bureaucrats. The bureaucrats are part of the system, right? And the common man, which are the ordinary day-to-day people, they don't feel the impact of governance. What are the impacts of governance that we see on our daily lives here? Let's say, for example, the city of San Antonio. I always marvel the way the city of San Antonio is, for example. The number of bridges in San Antonio, the level of construction that is going on in San Antonio are kidding us. If a country in Africa alone can witness that kind of growth that is happening in San Antonio, that will be Eldorado for Africa. You understand what I'm saying? Look at the amount of money that is going into construction. Look at the cycle, because when you look at the economy, what helps the economy is there is no leakages, right? Because the money goes from government to private sector. The private sector hire people to do the work. The company is getting paid, and also the construction company, they're getting their own money too. So you can see the cycle of how things work. However, in Africa settings, for example, there is a lot of leakages. Money changes hand at every point of transaction, which is it goes to the wrong hand, right? Because for you, there's a lot of approval processes. Let me use the word approval processes in technological parlance. So the approval processes, it goes from the head of the ministry or parastatal department that we call it here. It goes to another person that's going to sign it, which can be the treasurer for the ministry. And between that time, the money that is made for a project, 80 to 90% of the funds has been diverted to private hands. So a project that would cost like $1 million, for example, by the time the $1 million will get to the construction people or the merchant, probably like $300,000, and the project is worth $1 million. So that's why you have substandard quality of deliverables. So the deliverables are always substandard because the money that is accrued to the project itself, almost 90% of it has gone to service the people, which is private pockets. So the quality is always questionable. So that's why in Africa we have a lot of substandard products. So the only reason why you have standard products is more of private sector, service related sector, like tech. There's a lot of tech companies that are going on in Nigeria that do a lot of projects that are very, very viable. Those are the things that they're not able to control it. So that's my take.
You brought up a lot of good points, and I'm going to try to step back through them and remember them all. The first one was how Africa, their leaders are not serving them. And I think the picture that listeners need to really see on this is the example that you gave about infrastructure is an excellent one. Yes, we can have a highway construction project and it's going to take several years, but at least we saw a road get constructed. What you're describing, explaining to us is that road may never even be constructed, or if it is constructed, it's just a cleaned off dirt path in some cases, or the concrete is poured and it's got water in it and you have all these cracks on the road. So it's not just did the project happen, but did the project happen at the most peak of quality? Did I capture that right? Am I
Yeah.
explaining that right? That way
Yeah.
other people can kind of get where you're going with that? Perfect.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to highlight is yes, we do in America have things that get funded and the money doesn't always get funneled through, and you have these charges of embezzlement. But that's more of a newsworthy thing. That is not a commonplace, reoccurring event as it is happening in Africa, to where it's not even a news reported thing. I mean, am I right on that, or am I way off, Olu?
Yes, you are right, because when you look at the system is working as expected. When there's something they call adverse, there's something they call favorable. When you see the road construction, when I see it personally, my mind is always thinking about like Jesus, God bless America, because when I see the depth of the construction, it is amazing because I get to see the way they're doing it, right? When I see the depth, I'm seeing the depth like this, the layers of construction that is going on. I kind of like I'm always like, wow, this can only happen in America, man.
Yeah, we get to see the rebar go in place. We get to see all the different trucks and the time that it takes.
Yep.
Whereas on some of the projects that happen in Africa, you may not even see a lead up. It's just like okay, it's here now all of a sudden, and
Yep.
you don't know what's underneath it.
Yes.
That also goes into other programs such as food and medical care. So let's talk about food. Why does food insecurity continue despite available resources that are coming in?
So everything still boils down to our leaders, because when you look at Africa, for example, there is a lot of opportunities for the government to do their to do their responsibility to ensure that the citizens are well fed, at least to help them grow the way they're supposed to. So when I think about America all the time, I always be like, wow, I think Africa should do better the way they structure their benefit system. Actually, benefit system they don't have it. To be candid with you, they don't have benefit system. It can happen on paper, but so for the real people, they will tell you they don't get anything from the government. You only see that so X amount of dollars was budgeted for this. Once you see the budgeted amount, you don't see it on paper. They don't feel the impact. Like for example, when they do food stamp here, you get to get the food, you get to get a card, and you can buy food, right? In
Right.
Africa, you don't get it. It's either, I remember during the COVID time, the bulk of the money that was assigned for the senators, for example, they were only ordering the food for campaign purposes. Instead of them to give the deliverables to the citizens, they were
Right.
not giving it up. So they were hoarding it and just putting it in a warehouse. And at the end of the day, when the hunger was too much, those guys have to bombard all the factories, all the where they are storing the food. They have to bombard it and just like start hustling for food and go and carry the bag. People that will carry bag of rice, people that will carry bag of chips and all that kind of stuff. So they just put laws into their hands. So that's why it can be chaotic when there is no law and orderliness. Like for example, American food benefit system, I can do it online. You know what I mean? I can apply, they can give you the requirements, they'll check your data to make sure that everything is good. And once it's good, they send you the card to your address. It's not like that in Africa. No. There is no system like that. If there is any, it's only on paper, like I said. So the thing is, the government can say they have a program, but to be felt by the common man, that's where the issue is. We don't even have, you know,
there's no checks and balances. There's no, this person said, Tiana said she was in need and we gave Tiana these
no,
items to support that.
no,
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah. So thinking about that, using the food stamp program as an example, how has your program, your social benefits program, been inspired by programs like SNAP or food stamps?
So thank you for that question, actually. So when I was in the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services here, I was in charge of administering food stamp, where I talked to people that need food stamp, and that was the most appreciative moment of my life to be an American, right? Because I get to see everyday people. I talk to them about how they're feeling, what they're doing, and I collected the requirement from them and also document everything. And once I document everything, I put it in the computation analysis and I do a lot of data exchange. So the way it works is that you fill the required form. Once you fill the required form, there is a 24-hour to 48 hours to review you for emergency food stamp. They have to do it by law. And this is a program that is administered by the federal government here. And the reason why that program is very good is that the states need to comply. If you comply, you're going to get more money. But if you don't comply, they're going to reduce your budget for each state. So, and you have to meet this requirement. This requirement is called riches. You have to meet the residency requirements. You have to meet the income requirements. You have to meet the citizenship requirements. You have to meet the household requirements. You have to have the earned income requirements. And I also think the S. So all those factors are the things that we're going to use to make sure that each eligible person is meeting those requirements. Once we capture all those requirements, we have to go to look at the data to make sure that what this person is saying is a reflection of what the data is showing. And I will give an example. So in this data exchange, we have everything that comprises of your income, your real-time income, your end income, your unearned income, which is the RSDI, the SSI, your assets, the asset that you have that's in your name, the assets in your name, the number of people in your household, your bank statements, everything is included. So if somebody comes to me now, I open the system and the person is telling me something that is a variant of what the data is showing, I definitely know that this person is not saying the truth, is not a reflection of what the data is showing me. And that what I would do is just to verify, it's called a source of truth. I can verify the information. I said, this person is making $3,000, so you're not eligible based on the income requirements. I can say this person in my computation, I'm going to use what the data is showing me. And once I use what the data is showing me, based on the household size, based on your income, based on how much you're paying, your bills, that is when that amount will be prorated based on the days you apply. So it's a long process, right? But what that does is that it's going to give you a fair chance to know that this person, maybe you're in need or you're not in need, So
yeah, it's giving that layer of accountability and verification
yes,
on things, and even down not just to the individual that's requesting the need, but also the intermediary governments to make sure that they're being held accountable for distributing those funds.
yes.
So how would technology help to create that accountability in your program between the banks, markets, and government?
So one of the problem in Africa is the lack of availability of data. Like I said, in America, for example, we have what they call listing 1 to 12. That's data that is syncing in real time. the data, everybody in America, there is always an identifier that this person, I have a social security to verify your information. Because I've had instances where somebody comes to me and is coming, the person is not even alive anymore. So I can verify that this person is dead by the date of birth, the date of death. Because anytime somebody dies in America, for example, they always get a death certificate. And the death certificate is uploaded in the exchange to verify that this information is true. So somebody that is dead cannot get benefits in America because exchange, the data is going to show you that this person is not alive. And the same thing as Social Security, RSDI, whatever income you're getting. So those are the most important and the vital aspects because the data is captured from A to Z. However, in Africa, we don't have robust data. We're not there. We have data, but we're not there yet.
Gotcha. So since the data is there, but it's not accessible, what does this technology platform actually do in simple terms with that data?
So one of my theses that I want to use is there is mobile money operators in Nigeria, for example. The mobile money operators, they have a robust data. And the robust data is the sense that everyday people are using the mobile money operator. So based on income requirements, we can verify. One of my theses is that how about we migrate this data to a social benefit data? That can be a reflection of the income. We just have to verify how many people are in your household, what are you eligible for, what are you not eligible for. So if we can use those data, that can give us a view of into how this person is living, for example. So if we say, okay, this person is got 5 people in his household, and these people they're eligible for benefits, let's give them a flat rate, for example. That's my thesis, right? Flat rates, so that people can be served accordingly. Okay, let's give them a flat rate of let's say $50, right? $50 is a lot of money in Nigeria. $50 they can use it to buy food. You understand? So if you have that, at least that can alleviate the problem of food shortage, So, and also that can drag down the food inflation we have in Nigeria.
Okay, gotcha. So it's going to take that data and kind of create some sort of trends and normalcy compared to other individuals also pulling in that data to try to say, okay, this is where the average is. This is what they potentially will need, and this is what they qualify for. If someone listens to this episode years from now, what is the core intellectual property that you want people to know? This was your idea. This came from O.L.U.
Yeah, so the strategy is what matters, right? Because I've been into product development of late, and some of the things that we're saying, there's a lot of things that goes into it. It's just the periphery of what I'm telling you. There's a lot of things that we have to put in place. And this is not something that is going to happen overnight. I'm talking about 3 to 4 years project, because the data that we're talking about, if you've not done it before, you will not know how complex it is. So having an understanding of the process, having the technology to know that this is the technology we're going to use, and also the people you're going to bring to the project, because it's a lot of complexities when it comes to Africa. You understand? It's very, very complex because the bureaucratic bottlenecks are there, the approvals are there, the policies are there that you have to implement. Some policies have to be in place, So those are the things so the strategy is very important.
So what changes do you hope to see in the first few years of implementing your system and the strategy?
When I look at the American system, it's a 3-way thing, right? The government is here, the supply chain is here, the farmers are here. When you look at the food benefit system in America, what it does is that the subsidies goes to the farmers. The supply chain, they're the one that benefit from the food stamp, because if I'm a beneficiary of food stamp, I have to go to the grocery store to buy food, right?
Right.
Look at the amount of sales that food stamp provide to people that are selling groceries. And I bet during this little shutdown, they will feel the impulse of people not coming to the store, because you can't go shop if you don't have money. So those are the things that helps the economy to go around. So everything works together as a system, So if we adopt this kind of methodology in Africa, for example, look at the kind of businesses that will be popping up. Look at how people will be excited for the government because government is being responsive. If you are able to feed yourself, you feel better. You know what I mean? There will be increase in productivity. There will be increase in innovation.
So just considering the whole ecosystem in that is going to be a huge shift, and that is going to take a lot of time to change that from a mentality as well as implement those steps in the system. So how could this transform economic stability and trust and leadership in the future?
So poverty is number one thing in Africa, right? And poverty in the sense that people that are down, they still be kicked. People that are in the bottom, if you can lift them up a little bit, that can help the economy. Right?
Right.
And if we have, peradventure, we have a technology that works, we can elevate the people, like lift them up from poverty, because an average person in Africa probably make like less than $2 a day, right? But with technology, we can raise the bar. I said somebody that's making $1 a day, if you can bump it up to $3 a day, that would be a great thing, right? But government needs to play its role. The role is very, very important. You can't shy away from the truth that government needs to do more. You know, so if they're able to do more, that can help the people. People will be incentivized. Company will be incentivized. So that's the implication of it.
I'm sure someone is listening to this episode and feeling so inspired and loving your idea and wanting to figure out how they can also get on board. But if anyone listening is interested, you are a key contact or you know a key contact, I'm going to have Olu's contact information on LinkedIn in the show notes. So you can just click on that link and directly reach out to him. If listeners could take one message from you today about integrity or service, what should it be?
So one of my core principle is helping people, right? So giving them information that helps them in a daily life is something that is very paramount to me. So if you help one person, another person will help another person. So if we're able to do that, we'll bring each other up. So I learned that from you a lot. You always encourage people, share information, even the information you shared it with me when I became a Salesforce administrator. You shared it with me. So sharing information doesn't take away from you. It had more value to you. So if there's anything you want to take away from there, is help somebody to help another person.
Thanks for tuning into Plot Twist. If this story made you pause, reflect, or smile, please share it with someone who's in the middle of their own plot twist. You can catch more episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and connect with me on my socials. Until next time, keep writing your own story.